Yeah. I want to start at the beginning first, just slightly. I've read in an interview that you said about your first meeting that it was awkward and you didn't really have that much in common. Can you explain? And what drew you together?
Well, we met outside a nightclub 8 years ago or something, and our friends were fighting each other, and we were drunk, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and we'd started to talk to each other, well, because we had nothing else to do, and then we sort of asked if each other were in bands, and we weren't, but we both were looking to start a band, so that's what it went from there. So we sort of worked, and then the next day we started working together. So we worked together before we knew each other, which was a good way to do it actually, because it meant that we could. It was a nice way to get to know each other. Yeah, but it was weird.
Do you remember what you said to each other that night, or?
Yeah, a little bit.
Was it?
I think I was very serious at that time for some reason. I was like, do you want to do this as a job, or do you want to do this just for a laugh?
At 4 o'clock in the morning.
But you were okay with it.
Yeah. And we talked about bands, but we like, what bands do you like? And it was like The Cure,
Prince,
and I think we even talked about Killing Joke for a little bit.
You did.
I did. I talked about Killing Joke. But yeah, it was a strange way to meet, a real chance meeting, like that has 8 years ago led us to here.
Okay, well, you mentioned you started working together before really meeting each other, but you didn't really know how to make music at that time. Where did that interest come from? That musical interest, if you didn't play, but you knew you wanted to play.
Yeah.
Well, we were sort of at the same stage as each other. We were both beginners, really, and sort of music was, we didn't really have a clue what we were doing, and that meant we learnt together. And we've always had a parallel in our sort of abilities, our level. As one person's improved, the other person's improved as well. And I think at the beginning it was just, it was like school. We sort of got to know what to do over the years. And then thankfully when Hertz began, we reached a point where we sort of knew, okay, we can see how this can work, and away we went. But, it was a process.
Yeah, it was quite a good way to do it, to have not written or been in bands before or made music properly before we met until we were that age. It was quite good, because when you came to learn, you had all the ideas, and we'd sort of stored up our love of music to sort of get it out there.
Okay. Well, was it difficult to learn the instruments when you had these ideas in your head, but you maybe didn't know how to put them into the world?
It still is.
Yeah. That's what makes our music what it is. We're not brilliant, virtuoso musicians. It's not about that. It's about how we've used what limited abilities we have in a way that works for us, and we've used technology heavily, and we make a lot of our music with computers, and we program a lot of things, and perhaps if we were, an amazing pianist and an incredible guitarist, we'd sound completely different. So we've used what we have to work for us.
And the gaps in we sort of sat and we learned about pop music, and we learned about how to write pop songs and the nature of that, and our favourite bands and stuff like that, as opposed to learning in a traditional way. And the gaps, like Adam said, the gaps in our knowledge and the gaps in our sort of skill are still there, but they are what makes. We fill in a lot of gaps for each other, which is useful, but also they are what make us who we are, I think. So it's quite nice, but it's a little bit frustrating still, because we're not as good as we can be.
Have you, looking back at the previous record and now this record, do you have a feeling that you have filled those gaps a bit?
Yeah, I definitely think we got a bit better. I think we learned a lot from touring and playing and for me singing every day and learning things about my voice and us navigating around our own music and working out what our songs were and what we can do, which was useful. I think when we came back to making the music, we were much more confident and had developed a bit more.
Was this confidence just because of the success, or did you really feel you were growing as a musician?
I think a combination of both, really. I think success sort of definitely gives you conviction and makes you, you go, so we were right to begin with, and that makes you have much more self-belief and makes you try new things. And on this album we tried a lot more different directions with the songwriting, songs like Sandman, and we used guitars a lot more heavily, and I think we tried to push ourselves and we had the confidence to do it, and I think success definitely helped with that.
Well, it was the last album was immensely popular. Was it difficult to stay grounded afterwards?
Do you know, for us it was all like one big sort of ride, or like one big sort of dream. It was weird. Like we had each other, and we still do, to keep us on the level. But we've been doing it for 8 years, and 3 of those years have been with success and things. So it's quite easy to take it in your stride and to enjoy it and to not let it get the better of you, I think, because it is something that we've wanted for a very long time. And it's not just, we know that the hard work has got us there, and luck and fortune and things. So it's not, I think it's quite easy for us to stay sort of the same, I think.
Do you have specific things that you do to keep yourself grounded, or is it just, as you say, it just happens naturally?
I think, fear keeps you grounded. Fear of not being able to make music, not being able to play shows, fear of someone taking everything that we have away from us. And that propels us and, keeps us. We just have to work really hard. Like, we never feel secure that, we're fine for the rest of our career now. We always feel like, we might not get to make any more music, so that keeps us grounded.
But I guess the other thing is, at the same time, is not contrary to that, but there's a point where we had to realise that there was no old life anymore, where you balance the two for a very long time, and they cause the old life infringes on your new life, and it's very difficult because you don't know how to deal with it. But there comes a point where you forget about everything that was before, and you have to just live. You have to embrace what this is for everything, or it will get the better of you. So in that respect, we've actually had to adapt a little bit.
I think more what I mean is we don't believe that we're brilliant.
Yeah, that is right.
And I don't think we will ever believe that we're brilliant, and that keeps us grounded in that sense.
Yeah.